Dan Blocker truly hated him more than anybody. Dan Blocker was born Bobby Dan Davis Blocker on December 10, 1928, in DeKalb, Texas. He grew up in the rugged hills of Texas, where hard work, humility, and a strong sense of family became the cornerstones of his life. From his earliest days, he showed an uncommon blend of physical strength and gentle spirit, traits that would later define his most iconic screen role. Before fame ever came his way, Dan Blocker lived a life that reflected integrity, perseverance, and service. At 6 feet 4 inches and weighing about 300 pounds, he was a gentle giant even as a young man. His parents owned a small store in O'Donnell, Texas, and it was there that he learned the value of hard work and community. Blocker attended Texas Military Institute and later saw Ross State Teachers College, where he not only excelled academically but made a name for himself as a football player. His athletic ability and determination earned the respect of his peers, and he graduated with a degree in English, later earning a master's degree in dramatic arts. These early experiences gave him a sense of discipline and passion that would shape both his personal and professional life. Before entering the entertainment world, Blocker served his country with pride. During the Korean War, he was drafted into the United States Army and served as an infantry sergeant. His time in the military instilled in him deep respect for sacrifice, leadership, and courage. He often credited his wartime experiences with shaping his worldview and strengthening empathy for others. Those who knew him during this period described him as a man of deep integrity, someone who carried quiet strength and a genuine kindness that never faded, even amid the harsh realities of combat. After his military service, Blocker returned to Texas and worked as a teacher, sharing his love for literature and history with students before fate led him toward the world of acting. Dan Blocker didn't easily or readily make it into Hollywood, but his persistence finally paid off. By the late 1950s, he was getting small parts in television shows, such as The Rifleman, Gunsmoke, and The Restless Gun. With his natural charisma and imposing frame, he was soon in the radar of casting directors. In 1959, his life would change with his role of host Cartwright in Bonanza. The role would define his career and turn him into one of the most loved characters in television history. Hose, the big-hearted middle son of the Cartwright family, embodied everything Dan Blocker was in real life. Gentle, humorous, compassionate, and morally upright, audiences instantly connected with Hose's warmth and humility, and Blocker's portrayal gave the show an emotional depth that balanced its action and adventure. Bonanza became one of the most successful TV series of all time, running for 14 seasons from 1959 to 1973. Blocker appeared in 415 episodes before his untimely death in 1972. And during that time, he became an icon of American television. His character stood out not for being the fastest gun or the toughest cowboy, but for his humanity and decency. Critics and fans alike praised Blocker for bringing sincerity to the Western genre, often portraying Hose as the emotional heart of the show. Behind the scenes, his co-stars, including Lauren Green, Michael Landon, and Pernell Roberts, admired him deeply, describing him as the moral compass of the cast and a man who never let fame change who he was. Dan Blocker's marriage to Dolia Parker Blocker stands as one of the most touching and enduring love stories in Hollywood history. A relationship that reflected loyalty, humility, and deep affection in an industry often known for fleeting romances. The couple's bond began long before fame found Dan. They met while both were students at S. Ross State University in Alpine, Texas, where Dan was pursuing his studies and Gia was also active in the college community. Their bond was based on shared values, respect, and kindness from the very outset. While many couples in show business are drawn together by glamour or ambition, Dan and Dolphia built their relationship on mutual understanding and the comfort of knowing that their hearts were safe in each other's hands. They married in 1952, years before Dan Blocker was to become a household name with his legendary role as Eric Hose Cartwright on Bonanza. The wedding was modest, much like the couple themselves, two people deeply in love, starting a life together with little more than hope and determination. At the time, Dan was still an actor and teacher, struggling, working odd jobs to make ends meet for his young family. Dia stood by his side unwaveringly, providing encouragement and stability when the path ahead seemed uncertain. Her quiet strength and patience gave Dan the confidence to pursue his dreams even when success seemed afar. It was a partnership not of fame or wealth, but of faith in each other's potential, and a shared belief that love would see them through the hardships. As Dan's career as an actor began flourishing in the late 1950s and eventually soared with Bonanza in 1959, Dolia remained his steady anchor. She never sought the spotlight or attention for herself. Instead, she preferred to channel her energy into their home and children. While Dan would often be away on set for long hours while filming the popular Western series, Dia was the grounding force of their family, ensuring that their children grew up surrounded by love, normalcy, and strong moral values. Friends and colleagues would often remark that despite his fame, Dan Blocker remained remarkably humble and family-oriented, much of which was due to the quiet influence of Diameter. She was his confidant, his emotional center, and the one who reminded him of who he truly was beyond fame and success. Their marriage also produced 4 children, twin sons David and Dirk and daughters Deborah Lee and Dana Lynn. The Blocker family was the sort of family that welcomed you with warmth and greeted you always with a laugh. Dan often credited his wife with keeping that sense of balance. Even as his fame grew, he refused to let Hollywood change the way he treated his wife or family. He frequently spoke with deep affection for Dia, describing her as his greatest blessing and the love of his life. Theirs was a marriage that weathered the ups and downs of fame, long working hours, and pressures of public life. Yet it never wavered. Dan's deep devotion to Dolphia was well known among his peers. He would often hurry home after shooting rather than attend industry parties, preferring to spend quiet evenings with his wife and children. In the world of television westerns, few series were as beloved as Bonanza. For over a decade, it captured the heart of America with its tales of the Cartwright family, led by patriarch Ben and his 3 sons, Adam, Hose, and Little Joe. Behind the scenes, however, not everything was as harmonious as it seemed on screen. While Bonanza projected the image of a tight-knit frontier family, the real-life relationships among the cast were sometimes far more complicated. Among those, perhaps the most tense and emotionally charged was the one between Dan Blocker, who played the kind-hearted giant Eric Hose Cartwright, and Pernell Roberts, the intense and intellectual actor who portrayed Adam Cartwright. Dan Blocker, known for his warm, jovial nature and deep sense of loyalty to his colleagues, rarely harbored ill will toward anyone. A Texas-born former teacher and soldier, Blocker was a man of principle who valued teamwork and respect. Yet, even he found it hard to get along with Pernell Roberts. The tension between them wasn't about ego or competition for screen time. It was about conflicting personalities and values. Roberts was famously outspoken, often criticizing Bonanza's scripts and direction, which he viewed as shallow and formulaic. He wanted deeper storylines that challenged social norms, and he wasn't afraid to voice his frustrations loudly on set. Blocker, who believed in professionalism and loyalty to the show that had made them famous, took Roberts' constant criticism personally. Once, in an interview, Blocker spoke of Roberts, saying, "Pernell thought he was smarter than the rest of us." And maybe he was, but that didn't give him the right to treat people like fools. He added that working with Roberts could be like walking on eggshells, since Roberts often refused to rehearse lines he considered poorly written or beneath him. Blocker, who prided himself on being easygoing and cooperative, found such behavior disrespectful to the cast and crew. "We're a family on this set," he would often say, "and a family doesn't tear each other down in front of outsiders." The philosophical divide between the 2 men only deepened as the seasons went along. Roberts wanted out of the series. He was feeling creatively trapped. Blocker, on the other hand, loved Bonanza and saw it as a rare opportunity to bring positive, wholesome entertainment into American homes. Roberts' disdain for the show's commercial success clashed sharply with Blocker's gratitude for the same. Pernell thought Bonanza was too simple, too moral, too good-natured, Blocker once said. But that's what people needed, a little goodness in their lives. He couldn't see that. Despite their differences, however, both actors shared a deep commitment to authenticity in their performances. Roberts was a classically trained actor who approached each role with intensity, while Blocker relied on instinct and sincerity. The clash between intellect and heart became emblematic not only of their relationship, but also of the creative tension that kept Bonanza running. Behind the scenes, their arguments were sometimes heated but never violent. Still, Blocker's dislike for Roberts was well known among cast members. Michael Landon, who played Little Joe, once recalled that Dan tried to stay patient, but Purnell had a way of pushing people past their limits. So it was with a mix of feelings that Blocker greeted news of Roberts' departure from Bonanza in 1965. "I never wished him ill," he said once in an interview years later, "but I was glad to stop fighting." The departure restored peace on the set, and Blocker's good humor was back in full. Still, Blocker couldn't let go of his resentment entirely. He was a brilliant man, Blocker admitted, but he made everyone around him miserable. You can't build anything good out of bitterness. Ironically, time softened the edges of Blocker's anger. After leaving the show, Roberts pursued theater and stage work, continuing to speak out on social issues he cared deeply about. Though Blocker never reconciled with him personally before his own untimely death in 1972, he reportedly spoke of Roberts with a kind of weary respect in his later interviews. Maybe he was right to want more, Blocker once reflected, but he forgot to be thankful for what he already had. Their relationship remains one of the most fascinating behind-the-scenes dynamics in television history. A clash between two talented men who loved their craft, but couldn't bridge the gap between their opposing views of what it meant to be an artist. Dan Blocker's frustration with Purnell Roberts wasn't rooted in hatred alone, but in disappointment. Disappointment that someone he admired for his intelligence and talent could also be so cold, critical, and distant. In the end, Blocker's legacy was one of warmth, generosity, and camaraderie, while Roberts's was one of independence and defiance. Both men left an indelible mark on Bonanza, but it was Blocker's big heart and his honest words that continue to resonate with fans decades later. As Blocker once summed it up in his straightforward way, you don't have to like everybody you work with, but you should at least try to respect them. Purnell never gave us that chance. On May 13, 1972, the world was stunned by the unexpected and heartbreaking death of beloved actor Dan Blocker. Best known for his unforgettable portrayal of Eric Hose Cartwright on the long-running television Western Bonanza. At the age of just 43 years, Blocker's death in Englewood, California, created a void not only in the world of entertainment, but most sincerely in the hearts of millions of ardent followers who had come to appreciate his screen and off-screen warmth, humor, and humanness. The official cause of Blocker's death was a pulmonary embolism, the sudden and fatal blockage of an artery in the lungs, a complication that tragically occurred after what had been a routine gallbladder surgery at Daniel Freeman Memorial Hospital. Reports then surfaced that Blocker had gone into the hospital for a rather commonplace medical procedure, something neither he nor his doctors regarded as life-threatening. However, following the surgery, complications arose in which the blood in his body clotted and traveled to his lungs, cutting off his oxygen supply, leading to cardiac arrest. The news was confirmed by his family and later revealed by news publications, which had to report stoically. Blocker went into the hospital for gallbladder surgery, developed a blood clot in his lung, and died. The simple statement captured the shock of his sudden passing, an event that seemed almost incomprehensible given Blocker's image as a strong, larger-than-life figure whose good-natured spirit had come to symbolize the moral heart of Bonanza. His death was not only a devastating personal loss for his wife Dolphia Parker Blocker and their 4 children David, Deborah, Dana, and Dirk Blocker, the latter following in his father's footsteps as an actor, but also a moment of mourning for his extended Bonanza family. The cast and crew, including Lauren Green, Michael Landon, and Purnell Roberts, were said to be deeply affected.